Songbird is the first major movie to deal with the coronavirus. It's releasing soon. Is it what we need in this time of quarantine? It's now 2024, and LA has been on lockdown for several years due to mutations in the coronavirus, making it very much more contagious and thus deadly. We get a glimpse of life in Los Angeles where the majority of people are sequestered and quarantined inside their homes. And they have to do these mandated daily temperature checks via some mobile app. Now, there are some people that do get to leave their homes, and that's because they're immune to the coronavirus, or at least this current strain. Those that fail their daily temp checks get sent to the Q zone. We don't get to see much of it other than some aerial views, but what I did see reminded me a lot of District 9. AJ Kappa stars as one of those who are immune. He works as a courier, and so he rides his bike through town delivering packages. And he also spends a lot of his time communicating with this girl that he met, played by Sofia Carson. Now, they've never actually met face-to-face in person. All of their communication, all of their connection is done via video chat. Now, the government has declared some sort of martial law where the police, and maybe it's the National Guard, patrol the city just to make sure that the quarantine is enforced, and then whatever curfews they have in place are also enforced. They also help the Department of Sanitation collect the infected. Now, in order to traverse the city, those who are immune have to wear a bracelet, and that identifies them as somebody who can be out, and you have to show it or get it scanned or whatever. But so you can imagine that anybody who is not immune, who is being locked up in their house, who's being quarantined for just a really long time, they're going to want one of those bracelets as well. And thus opens up a black market for bracelets. This is a very quick watch, and it's only 90 minutes long. The entire premise really boils down to that Kappa wants to get this girl out of town, but she doesn't have a bracelet. We spend the first part of the movie following Kappa around on his route as a courier. It helps to kind of set the stage for at least some of the environments that we see, how the city looks. It also gives us a brief glimpse of kind of how life is in the city. We have some things that are overgrown or run down, and then we also have some very well manicured things. And so this visual discrepancy is not explained. And so it does really kind of, that's like my first clue as I'm watching this of like, how much time did you actually spend, or is that a mistake, or what's going on here? Because we never see anybody outside their homes. We barely see anybody in this entire movie. We're assuming that they're either quarantined inside their homes or they're sent to the Q zone. Now, there does come a point in the story where I kind of enjoyed it because there was some urgency and tension to what was going on. There is a time limit, a time crunch to get something accomplished. And at that point, the soundtrack, the framing of the shots, everything, it ramps up. It makes it a little bit more anxiety-ridden. It produces just a little bit of adrenaline because, ooh, now we gotta go. And you have quick cuts and you have some different angles as action is going on. And that produces a little bit of fun as we're watching. But I think, have we had a really good connection with the story or with the characters, this urgency would have been amped up so much more. Really, at its core, this is a very simple story. And while it is simple, it does create a little bit of fun. A little bit. We also have Bradley Whitford and Demi Moore in this, and they serve a really large purpose to part of the story. But they're also involved in a side story that has absolutely no purpose to the overall movie at all. I mean, the side story could be completely cut out, and it wouldn't affect the main story or the movie at all. While I didn't hate this portion of the film while I was watching it, as I began to write down my thoughts for the review, it began to annoy me more and more because it was just wasting my time in the movie. And even more so, they could have used that time that they spent on this side quest or this side story that doesn't really do anything and given our characters and given our story a whole lot more development. They could have also spent a little bit more time with the world building. I mean, we know the characters want to leave, but what's the rest of the world like? I mean, is it just LA? Is it just the United States? What happens if they leave LA? If our characters actually accomplish their goal and they get to go, where are they going to go? And what is it going to be like when they get there? Is it just more of the same? There's some supporting characters in this too who are just wasted. We have Paul Walter Hauser, Craig Robinson, and Alexandra Daddario who are fine for what they're doing, but they're not given much to do. And there's not really anything to their characters. I mean, if anything, Paul Walter Hauser gets a little bit. I mean, we get a taste of what his character could have been. and it's just skimming the surface. And so why do that? Why introduce a character that could be really, really interesting and then not give us the interesting stuff? There's also some random guy who just shows up in the middle of a key scene and he does something and then he's never heard from again. I don't know who he is. I don't know what his name is. I don't even know why he was there or why he showed up. But yet, there he was. While I liked some of the urgency the movie created, the lack of story development really does hinder it. There are many opportunities to make this good, and they could have even made it great with some really deep social commentary. There's the idea of the Q zone and what that means on a larger scale to society. Could have explored more of the sanitation department and its role. I mean, come on, you called it the sanitation department or the Department of Sanitation for a reason. You gave them the job of dealing with sick people. Let's explore that more. And then even look at the characters themselves and their actions and see how that speaks to how we, as the audience right now, are dealing with our current situations. I think had they spent some more time on this, they really could have developed a great story. Something that really does touch us and something that has a bite to it in its story and what it's trying to say to us. Instead, we get a message that, well, isn't really even there. This comes out on December 11th, and I wasn't able to find a VOD price. I'd say if it's under $2 and you're looking for something that's quick, mildly entertaining, but ultimately forgettable, then you're going to be okay. Otherwise, though, really wait until it hits a streaming platform like Netflix or Amazon Prime, because truly it's not even worth $2. I think this is really just a case of missed opportunity and wasted potential. They have some great actors. They have a good story premise that is playing out in front of our eyes today. And they just didn't take the opportunity to grab hold of social commentary, or even if you're going to throw that out the window and make it just a balls out action movie, then do that. But they didn't do that either. There is a little bit of action and it's kind of entertaining somewhat. And the best part of the entire thing is that time limit that comes towards the end of the movie where that's where the urgency comes. That's where the true tension and anxiety could be built. And it does do a little bit of a job there, but not much. There's no sex, brief nudity, some profanity, and violence. I give Songbird 1.5 out of 5 couches. I went into this movie completely blind, so I didn't know what to expect. But is this something that you've been looking forward to? What drew you to it? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoy this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for catching with me.